All right, Donald Trump is having quite the meltdown, posting to the tune of 400 Truth Social posts in a matter of a couple of hours. And one of the reasons is, well, after this from Fox host Jessica Tarlov, who reminded her co-hosts that it was their fearless leader who had granted asylum to the Afghan national suspected of shooting 2 National Guard soldiers, killing 1 in D.C. last week.
What we know is that he comes here from Afghanistan in the summer of 2021. He applies for asylum in December of 2024. Now he goes through another vetting process involving that, and he's approved for asylum in April of this year under the Trump administration.
But it's been disappointing to see President Trump or DHS Secretary Kristi Noem on the Sunday shows denying the fact that Donald Trump's administration granted him asylum in April of this year. So they had a chance to evaluate the situation as well when he was nuts, when he was suicidal, when he was threatening, all these things that had been going on in his life. And they also let him stay. So just making this it was your fault, not we have an American problem, I think turns a lot of people off from this.
You see, in the wake of last week's attack, the president was, of course, swift to place blame on the previous administration, sending out all of his lead propagandists to repeat these claims across the mainstream media.
And you said that he was radicalized here in the United States. He was admitted to this country by the Biden administration. That's 100% correct, 2021. But he was granted asylum by the Trump administration in April. So did you see any red flags?
If you remember, John.
Yeah, did you see any red flags?
John, all the information that was gathered on that vetting process was gathered under the Biden administration. His asylum claim application started under the Biden administration. That information was provided by them.
He was granted asylum in April, so President Trump had already been in office for several months. You had been in office. Are you saying there was no vetting done by the Trump administration? You were simply relying on what had been done under the Biden administration? You did no vetting before granting him asylum?
While Trump himself snapped at another female reporter for daring to point out the fact that, the suspect was granted asylum under his watch.
But they go cuckoo. Something happens to him.
Your DOJ IG just reported this year that there was thorough vetting by DHS and by the FBI of these Afghans who were brought into the U.S. So why do you blame the Biden administration for what this man did?
Are you stupid? Are you a stupid person? Because they came on a plane.
Now, the suspect in the fatal shooting of 2 National Guard members near the White House was identified as Ramanullah Lakanwal, a 29-year-old Afghan national. And last week, just blocks from the White House, he opened fire on the National Guard members on patrol. 1 guard was killed and another remains seriously wounded. And when the topic of this attack was addressed on Fox News, host Jessica Tarlov was tasked, as she often is, with pouring cold water on the idea that this had nothing to do with Trump and the fault was solely with the previous administration.
Yeah, it was definitely a hurried process. I did not see many Democrats even, or people part of the administration, who were defending the way that we exited this situation. And a lot of the concern was actually for people like this alleged murderer who had helped over the years. And you see veterans all over TV talking about how amazing the vast majority of these people are and that we were going to leave them to die if we did that. I think that looking at that program again and saying we can't repeat that is definitely important. But it's been disappointing to see President Trump or DHS Secretary Kristi Noem on the Sunday shows denying the fact that Donald Trump's administration granted him asylum in April of this year. So they had a chance to evaluate the situation as well when he was nuts, when he was suicidal, when he was threatening, all these things that had been going on in his life. And they also let him stay. So just making this it was your fault, not we have an American problem, I think turns a lot of people off from this, or this kind of rhetoric when Trump is posting that you need to denaturalize people who undermine domestic tranquility and deport foreign nationals who are non-compatible with Western civilization. Using those kinds of sweeping terms versus saying, we need to look at this program and we need to make sure that everyone that we are bringing here deserves to be here is a much more appropriate response to it. But, I understand and was personally hugely upset by this and continue to be in hope that, the soldier who's fighting for his life can get through.
The Trump administration has shut down any questions related to, say, why the National Guard are in D.C. in the first place, something that a loved one of one of the victims had pointed out in an interview.
Treated in and other things regarding his treatment. In the meantime, our colleague Gabe Cohen spoke to a gentleman named Andrew Carr, who is the former boyfriend of Sarah Beckstrom, the Guard member who was killed in the shooting. They lived in West Virginia, and Gabe asked the former boyfriend what Sarah Beckstrom felt about her deployment to Washington. Take a listen.
Did she believe in the mission of being there? Did she think it was important, or did she think they didn't belong there, the West Virginia National Guard?
It was mixed. She got deputized in there, and they gave them no rights to do anything. She was like, people spit towards us, cuss at us, throw things at us, and we can't do nothing. She couldn't detain nobody. She couldn't stop them from doing wrong. It was like they told them to call the cops. She wanted to make the difference. She wanted to extremely. She was happy with it. And she just was also like, why am I here if I can't do nothing? Where they limited them so much, she's like, it's pointless. She's like, I get why we're here. Crime's bad, but it's pointless if we can't do anything.
And as mentioned, whenever pressed about his administration's involvement in granting this individual asylum, Trump has repeatedly snapped at reporters and just shunned the idea of discussing it. Most notably during a press conference when he was asked whether the suspect had been properly vetted, the president lashed out, calling the correspondent asking the question, another female reporter, by the way, should I note, a stupid person.
A question about this tragic shooting in Washington, D.C. U.S. officials say that the suspect worked very closely with the CIA in Afghanistan for years, that he was vetted, and the vetting came up clean.
He went cuckoo. I mean, he went nuts. And that happens, too. It happens too often with these people. You see them. But look, this is how they come in. This is how they're standing on top of each other. And that's an airplane. There was no vetting or anything. They came in unvetted. And we have a lot of others in this country. We're going to get them out. But they go cuckoo. Something happens to them.
Your DOJ IG just reported this year that there was thorough vetting by DHS and by the FBI of these Afghans who were brought into the U.S. So why do you blame the Biden administration for what this man did?
Are you stupid? Are you a stupid person? Because they came on a plane along with thousands of other people that shouldn't be here, and you're just asking questions because you're a stupid person. And there's a law passed that it's almost impossible not to get them out. You can't get them out once they come in. And they came in, and they were unvetted, they were unchecked, there were many of them, and they came in on big planes, and it was disgraceful. And if you look, you'll see there was a law passed. It makes it almost impossible not to let them in, not to certify them, so to speak, once they come in. And they came in, and they shouldn't have come in. And frankly, the whole thing was a mess. The whole Afghanistan situation was a mess. It should have never taken place.
And that reaction says as much as any report could. When the president is under pressure, name calling is often what he resorts to replace any explanation. It helps deflect from accountability. What's more, though, is this incident hasn't slowed down the White House's plans to deploy more National Guard troops nationwide. Just today, it was announced that they are expanding Guard presence across the country despite growing public opposition, most recently in New Orleans. Meanwhile, poll after poll continues to show a majority of Americans are against expanding National Guard deployments in domestic policing roles. But when has this president cared about adhering to the needs of the very people who elected him to office?
Love this video? Support independent media and unlock exclusive content, ad-free videos, and custom emojis by becoming a paid member of our YouTube channel today. You can also gift memberships to others. Let's keep growing together.